I'm going to start with Prince Andrew.
Yeah.
So this week, The Sun reported that friends have told us that the Duke of York is too terrified to go to the US. Now, this is because there is mounting calls in America after fresh emails have come out in the UK in a court case about comments and contact that he's had with Jeffrey Epstein. There are calls in America that the FBI should reopen an investigation into Prince Andrew, something to do with Jeffrey Epstein, something that he thought was long in the past. So is Prince Andrew right to be terrified never to go to America again?
Well, I think it'd be stupid if he did go to America now, with all this hostility towards him and the fact that it's now come out that he had further contact with Jeffrey Epstein, not a very nice man. And but as fact is that, you know, Prince Andrew sometimes, I don't know, he sort of doesn't think about what the consequences are. You know, when he did, my view is that if he'd have gone on television and sort of apologised for what he did and saying that it was a mistake, I made a mistake, I was lonely and I should have not slept with that girl, you know, probably he would have got away with it, but he didn't. He was arrogant, and that's his downfall, is his arrogance. Now, I don't think the FBI will investigate it again. I think they've investigated it already thoroughly, and there's nothing's changed. You know, it was still that he was friends with this Jeffrey Epstein, and the fact is, it's been investigated by Scotland Yard here. So he's not committed any crime. He's just committed this stupid.
What we're saying is he's not been convicted of any crime. He's not been found guilty of any crime, but he is guilty of behaving stupidly, reacting badly, and coming across as a bit of an idiot when he came on Newsnight and all the interviews that he's given. That's been the problem for Prince Andrew.
Newsnight was an absolute disaster. He should have not have done it. I mean, his media advisors advised him not to do it. In fact, said he shouldn't do it, but he thought he was right, like he always does. And he's come unstuck, you know, and it seems nothing he does now is seemed to be worthwhile. I mean, we see pictures of him riding a horse around Windsor. He's got absolutely no life whatsoever. He's just, I think he must be so absolutely fed up day in, day out. And I think it's only because his lovely ex-wife, but, you know, Sarah Ferguson, who's totally support him all the time, and I'm sure his children do, and I think they would love their papa, and of course they've got grandchildren now, and maybe he's quite a good grandfather. I don't think they would abandon him. You wouldn't, the family, and in a way, our king hasn't, because, you know, I've been to Sandringham Christmas time in the last few years, and he's been there, and it was only this year he pulled out because there was this business over a alleged Chinese spy. Now, you know, Andrew sort of got a lot of bad press for that as well. But when you look at it, how was he to know that that man was a spy? He was this trade ambassador for Britain. He was going to these different countries to try and drum up trade for this country. And of course, you know, it's come out that it's a spy now. Andrew's linked with a spy.
But the problem is that Prince Andrew is like a lightning rod for bad news for the royal family. Everything he touches, you know, turns to fool's gold. He's just a bit of a disaster. Doesn't this damage the king and the royal family in many ways? I mean, we've got this lawyer here that says that the lawyer for the victims of Jeffrey Epstein's victims, and he's saying that the royal family and the UK government should turn Andrew over to the FBI for investigation.
The FBI have investigated it once. I'm sure they've got better things to do. I mean, why don't they investigate Prince Harry? Harry got a visa when he admitted taking drugs at school. But they've got better things to do than that. And also it would embarrass the royal family for the FBI to bring in a sort of charge against Andrew for something they've already done just because a lawyer says the FBI should do it. I mean, lawyers are going to say that because they've got people to defend. And of course, you know, American lawyers, we know, make lots of money out of this. So the thing is, I think Andrew is his own worst enemy. I agree. He's arrogant and he does things without thinking, and he ignores advice. And the biggest advice he ignored was doing that show with Emily Maitlis, the Newsnight show. I mean, it was an absolute disaster for him and for the royal family, and the king had no choice but to cast him aside. But that aside, he's still a prince of the realm, and he's still, you know, a brother of the king, and he's got no life now. He's got all his patronage has been taken away. His army. All these army and military titles have been taken away. he can't attend anything official anymore. But I've seen him at Sandringham a couple of times at Christmas time with the King, and Sarah Ferguson is there as well, and they seem all to be like family. You know, they're still family, and at the end of the day, I'm sure, you know, he loves his brother. I think the King loves his brother, but you know, unfortunately, he's got to be hard on him, and he's got to do the right thing. And of course, Andrew feels obviously put out by it all. He would probably like to do more things for the country, and I'm sure he would do a good job. But you know, it's just not right, and it's all because he.
But he can't do any of those.
Because he lied in that interview when he sort of said, "I don't know this girl," and then, you know, you pay this girl a lot of money, someone you don't know, so it's stupid. And you know, saying he was in Pizza Hut, I mean, it was arrogance, and he doesn't sweat. I mean, I was cringing watching it. I was thinking, what are you saying? You know, you're crucifying yourself, and he did it, and you know, he brought it on himself, and for that he's suffering. But going to America, I think he'd be stupid. I agree, and I think that not just the FBI, but the press he would get, and it would all rebound over here, and we'd be picking up on it, and it just would do the royal family no good.
Well, he can never work again. He can never be seen in public, the royal family again. Well, I think we all agree on that, and he is his own worst enemy, and he just, you know, maybe needs to go away. But the problem with that, if we're saying that he's too terrified to go to America because he fears he might get arrested, he might be a subpoena, or might be some civil action, could you see him ever leaving the UK again? I mean, is he just confined to Royal Lodge? Is that where he'd never leave the country again, maybe?
I think, I don't think he'll leave. I don't think he'll leave the country. No, I don't think so. Although he's got great friends in the Middle East.
One trip he's done abroad in the last 6 years, and that was to Bahrain.
Yeah, that's right. I'm going to say he's got great friends in the Middle East, and he probably could. But you know, I think he's Royal Lodge. I think he's just arranged a deal where he stays at Royal Lodge and agreed to probably repair it. But I think look, he's coming up to retirement age anyway, and you know, but he's been retired early by the King, and I at the time felt that must have been hard for him to do because it's his brother. But you know, sometimes these things are difficult. But you know, our King has got the future of the royal family to consider, and unfortunately, Andrew was a casualty.
Well, there was a little bit of a ray of happy news for Prince Andrew. This is his fourth grandchild. Princess Beatrice had a daughter, Athena, weighing £4.5 ounces. So we know that she was born early. Yeah. Do we know what Prince Andrew's relationship is like with Beatrice and Eugenie and his grandchildren?
Well, I don't know, but I would imagine, I don't know, but I do know that they would I think they would love their father still. I mean, he's been very kind to them and good to them, and there would be no reason why they wouldn't. And they would probably be like Sarah Ferguson, his ex-wife, probably desperate for him to have a change in his life, but it's not going to happen. But I mean, Athena is a lovely name, and Beatrice and those girls are absolutely super girls. I mean, they're really, really lovely. I can honestly tell you they are special.